Hey everybody, good morning. I hope y'all are doing well. This is your girl Tanetta Clay, your social worker coach, here to bring you a video this morning talking about becoming a caregiver and is home care a practical option. So make sure that you, of course, like I said, stick around to, of course, hear about the information I have to share in this video. And, of course, feel free to share this out if you know a caregiver or somebody that has aging parents or somebody else in the family that may need some assistance, or just hear this information to know whether caregiving is actually for them. So, like I said, definitely share this out with them. Feel free. So let's go ahead and get into this. As you all know, well, some of you may know, I've talked about, of course, how I'm a social worker, been a social worker a quarter of a century now, 25 years now. And I'm a certified life coach as well. But I work with caregivers every single day who are providing care for their loved ones in all types of capacities, from those who their loved one who may have had strokes, or on up to those who may have memory care, dementia issues. I guess I put it that way. And of course, we all know that depending on the severity of your loved one's health issue, we know that the length of time can vary, of course, for how long you may have to care for this particular person. Of course, like I said, it just depends, because sometimes with the memory care, it is a lot, could be a decade before the person, of course, expires, or that type of thing. With the stroke, sometimes it can happen suddenly. You have to step in, that kind of thing as well. So like I said, the length of time and the duties that you may have to do may vary. Sometimes, of course, as far as the levels of care, sometimes you could provide short-term caregiving, meaning that you're helping the person out, whether it's your parents or a loved one, going to their house to take some meals, to help them clean a little bit, like once or twice a week, or that kind of thing. Sometimes it is long-term care that you have to, of course, move in with the person, or they have to move in with you, so that you could provide care for them. So like I said, definitely you have to know whether this is a choice that you really want to make. It depends on your situation and what's going on as well. So like I said, let's go ahead and get into this. Like I said, we all know that caregiving can be it is a big responsibility. A lot of times you're not paid to become the caregiver for someone, but like I said, that's something that has to be thought about while you're, which I know you may be the last person or the only person that's there and the only person that can help. But like I said, there's other options like residential care and those types of things, or hiring an in-home caregiver that could, of course, assist as well. But if you're the one who wants to, of course, take care of the person, and which I'm not saying you don't have to, please go ahead and do that. Especially if it's your loved one and that's the role that you want to play, go ahead and do that. But I hope that this video can provide you with some things to think about, because like I said, the amount of time sometimes can vary. Depends on when the illness first started for your loved one until it ends. I guess I put it that way as well. And I can't tell you how many times I talk to majority of the caregivers that I work with. They, of course, a lot of them are talking about when are they going to get their life back. And like I said, that is definitely something that you have to think about when you're going into the world of caregiving, regardless as to whether you're the only person or not that's left and have to take care of this person. But you have to think about your life as well. I'm not saying don't take care of anybody. I'm not saying that, but you have to think about yourself as well, as to whether this is something that you can do, especially knowing that most illnesses are going to require long-term care and not just a check-in, that kind of thing. In the beginning, it may, but over time, it's going to get worse, and you're going to either have to move in with this person, or the person is going to have to move in with you and your family, especially if you have a family and that kind of thing as well. And like I said, I hope that these things I'm going to talk about are some things that you can think about as far as whether home care is a practical option for you and or your family, if you have a family at home as well. So like I said, you and your relative, you have to think about whether your relative will require long or short-term care. Like I said, the short-term care is when you're just going to check in on this person for a few months and that kind of thing, and that's all they need. But the long-term care is when they, of course, get further on their illness and they need care 24 hours a day, or just about 24 hours a day. Will he or she need constant supervision? That's something you have to think about as well. With dementia, memory care, yes, in the beginning they may not. They may be able to be left alone, but at some point they will need that constant supervision. So that's something to think about, whether it's memory loss or whether somebody dealing with a stroke or that kind of thing, or some other kind of illness. Like I said, they sometimes, of course, they'll get slowed down. The walking may change, the way they move around may change, and that kind of thing as well. They will need your constant supervision to prevent falls and stuff like that. How does this person feel about you being their caregiver? That's one thing that you have to think about when you're wanting to become a caregiver for someone. regardless as to whether you're the last person or the only person there to help take care of this person, you have to make sure that they want you to take care of them. I guess I put it that way. They may just want to go into a residential care home and be done with it. Some do want to do that. But like I said, you definitely want to make sure that, like I said, that you all, of course, are talking about that. Give me 1 second, y'all. Make sure that you all are talking about that. And then not just whether this person wants you to care for them, but do you want to care for this person as well? Sometimes we have situations where, of course, families are estranged, and I'll just put example with your parents. Not with just for an example, I have had caregivers that were estranged from their parents for years and decades and hadn't talked to their parents, and didn't. It was just a traumatic situation that they didn't want to go back to, but they had to go back to because of their parents' illness, and nobody else was there to take care of them. And like I said, yes, it puts the strain on you mentally, physically, and emotionally, but that mentally and emotionally, when it comes to dealing with somebody that you've had trauma from, you may not want to do that. Like I said, that's definitely something to think about. And the next one, are you the best person to for this caregiver? Are you the best person to be this person's caregiver? Regardless as to whether it's your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, whoever it is. Are you the best person to become that person's caregiver? Do you know how to actually lift someone from the bed, or using a Hoyer lift, or helping somebody with a walker? Or do you know how to feed an adult, or feed someone that can't hold the spoon because of a stroke or because of Parkinson's? Can you, of course, are you the best caregiver? Do you know how to change someone that's, of course, immobile or in the bed all day, cannot move? And do you know how to, of course, change the bed pads, change their Depends, and that type of thing? Like I said, that's something that you have to think about when you, of course, are thinking about becoming a caregiver. I know sometimes, like I said, this is thrusted up on you. And sometimes it just happens suddenly. Your parent may have a heart attack or may have a stroke or something like that, and you're just thrown into this situation. But like I said, with given all that, like I said, you definitely have to think about these things as to whether this is something that you're willing to do long term. Like I said, a lot of the caregivers I deal with, they of course want their time back. They're in retirement. When am I going to have my time to myself? I was traveling. I had to come take care of my parents, or this kind of thing. A lot of those things would go through your head as you're caring for someone. It's not going to be easy peasy. In the beginning, it may be because they can do more of the activities. They can clean themselves, or feed themselves, or shower themselves. But at some point, that may stop, and you may have to do all those things for that person. Like I said, that's something that you have to think about. Like I said, you have to think about whether this is a practical option for you and for that person. And how much help, you have to think about how much help are you able to get from other family and friends and neighbors and whoever else is in this person's life, in your life as well. I have a lot of caregivers who do this alone, and they're struggling. Don't have anybody to come give them respite care, respite meaning a break. They can't even get a break from this person. They're there 24 hours a day just providing care. That's all that they can do, and they don't have anybody to support them. Figure out whether you can get help from as many people as you can. I'm not saying don't do it if you cannot get support. That is a choice that you make. But just know that if you can't get any support from family, friends, or that kind of thing, it is going to be difficult for you. And another thing you can think about, what options are available if you don't want to become the caregiver. And like I said, the people that I work with, like I said, that's something that we talk about all the time, planning for care, planning for that person's care. Whether you're going to become the caregiver in the beginning and then transition them into a care home, or memory care, or assisted living, or their independent living apartment, until they, of course, go down that path of needing more assistance into a nursing home or care facility. That's something, like I said, that's something you have to think about. Another option would be, of course, if you all can, of course, hire an in-home caregiver so that you won't be the person providing care 24 hours a day. Like I said, those are options that you have, but that's something that you have to think about, you and this person. And if you have anybody else in your life as well, that's something you all have to think about. And especially if it's your parents or family, you have siblings or other family, aunties and uncles and all that. This is something that you all have to discuss, because you all want to be on the same page, and you all want to make sure that you're providing this person with the best care possible. But if you become the caregiver, the sole caregiver, and everybody else is going to support you, you have to have that help and that support. Otherwise, like I said, you are going to be struggling. I can tell you that from the get-go. I talk to caregivers, like I said, all the time, every single day. That's what I do as a social worker. So I know how the process goes, but just keep that in mind. That's something that you have to ask yourself. Another thing, if you're married or have a partner, or have kids at home, you have to talk to your family, your at-home family, your husband, your wife, your kids, about how it's going to be affecting your household if you start caregiving for this person or these people, whoever your parents or whoever it is. Because that means that your time is going to come from that household with your family, with your own family, your husband, wife, and your kids, to whoever you're caring for. And that's going to be, like I said, usually it's around the clock, 24 hours, especially if you're the one that the person is depending on and you know that you have to help this person. That's why it's imperative, like I just said, the question before that was to find out what family, friends, relatives that could help you, so that you don't have to be leaving your family every single day, all day long in the middle of the night to go check on your loved one because they need care or somebody has failed or that kind of thing. You're going to need that support. But like I said, if you have a partner, husband, wife, kids, they are going to be affected by this caregiving. Even if the person's not staying in your household, you have to be over there all the time, just about every day. That's going to take time away from you doing whatever it is you do with your family, whether it's an outing or y'all making meals together, TV time, family time. It's going to take away from those things. And the next thing you have to think about is, can you fulfill your responsibilities to your relative, like I just talked about, and to your to your own partner, husband, wife, and your kids, especially if you have those, if you're in that kind of relationship. And have you discussed this situation with your husband, wife, and your kids to let them know that you may have to become the caregiver for someone? That is something that is a whole, unless the kids are babies or infants or that kind of thing, or small children. Otherwise, have a discussion with them to let them know what's going on, because you may need their support as well. And I have talked to caregivers who partner, husband, wife, did not want them to become the caregiver for whoever it was, because they knew what kind of road it was going to go down, and that they were not going to be there all the time. That is a situation that y'all, like I said, you have to discuss. Your partner may feel that way. And that's a medium or middle ground that y'all is going to have to come to. You're going to have to figure out whether you can actually care for this person, given what you have your own kids and your own husband, wife, and that kind of thing, in your own household as well. Or will you get other family and friends, or you or whoever has the money to, of course, hire an in-home caregiver to come care for your loved one? Or if you're going to put that loved one into a care facility. No, like I said before, nobody wants to hear about a care facility, but you have to, at some point, you may not be able to take care of this person by yourself, or even with the support system, because it's going to get harder as time goes on. It's not going to get easier. They're going to need more care, and sometimes more care than you can even provide or know how to provide. You're going to have to get some help. Just keep that in mind. And if you're moving this person into your household, you have to think about how you're going to adapt your home to this person. Whether you're going to need grab bars in the shower, whether you're going to need a shower chair or a raised toilet seat. What are you going to need for this person to adapt your home? Whether you're going to have to build if the person's in a wheelchair or need a walker or in a wheelchair, whether you're going to have to build a ramp and that kind of thing. You have to think about those things. And yes, it takes money to do so. There are some resources out here in the community sometimes for you to get, like I said, some resources for that. It may not be a lot, depends on where you stay. It just depends on the area that you're in and what resources are available. But sometimes, like I said, those resources out there, and a lot of times they're not. And that's something that the person, if they have an income, they can pay for, or you can use their income for it and keep the receipts and stuff like that. Or if not, you may have to pay for it on yourself, especially if they're moving to your house. How else are they going to get down the steps in a wheelchair? You have to think about them things. And you, like I said, think about how much it's going to cost. And whether there's resources out there. Like I said, there are some resources out there, but you have to look at your area. I don't know what's going on in your area. Some areas have more resources than others. And then the last thing I want to talk about is work and finances. If you're the person that, of course, is stepping in to, of course, care for your loved one, and you're working full-time, even part-time, or running a business, that is going to affect the way you work and run your business and or your part-time, whatever you're doing. It's going to take time away from that, especially, like I said, if you're working the business, you can kind of work around sometimes because it's your own business. You can set your own hours to a certain extent, depends on what you do. But if you're working, you're going to have to take out work to go to doctor's appointments. If that person falls or has to be hospitalized, you'll be the one being there. That's something you have to think about when you're becoming a caregiver. Do they have family medical leave? Most jobs have FMLA, which is a Family Medical Leave Act, meaning that you can leave, of course, for like a block of time or a chunk of time, a few weeks or that kind of thing. But just keep in mind with that, if you don't have enough sick time and that kind of thing, you won't be paid for the time that you're leaving. Until whenever your vacation and sick time run out, that means you don't be paid. If you have to take off again, that means you're not going to get paid for it. That's something that you have to think about. Are you going to be able to run your household when your work check stops or your business income stops? And I have had caregivers who had to move from different states and quit their job, retire early and come down and come and take care of their parents. That does happen. They have no income. They're living off their parents' income because they're inside the house helping take care of them, which is fine. But I know people want their own money and their own things to buy their own stuff. I'm pretty sure. So like I said, that's something you have to think about when it comes to caregiving. And are you prepared? And the last thing I want to say is, are you prepared to, of course, give up your job if you need to care for this person 24 hours a day? And it's causing too much issue at work because you keep missing work and this kind of thing going on. And there keep being emergencies and they need more care. Are you prepared to, of course, leave your job to, of course, assist these folks? Your parents, your brother, sister, whoever it is you're caring for. Like I said, that's something that you have to think about. Like I said, I know these are big decisions and big questions to, of course, think about, to ponder on. But when you're talking about, of course, caregiving for someone, it is not an easy feat. And it is not something that you yes, sometimes you may have to jump into it because some things, a heart attack may happen or a stroke may happen or some kind of other illness may happen all of a sudden. I understand that. But if you're given the option to, of course, take some time to think about it, definitely think about it. Like I said, that's something that you're going to have to adjust your whole entire life around. Like I said, if you have your own family, your husband, wife, and your kids, you're going to have to work that around that as well, which may cause, and I'm sure, because I've talked to caregivers a lot, and like I said, it does cause issues within your marriage sometimes when you're trying to, and with your kids, especially if your time is taken away from that household into the household that you're trying to help the people, help your loved one with. Even if that loved one moves into your household, that's going to be a lot of time and attention that you're putting towards them and not your husband or wife or your kids. You have to think about that. And like I said, if it is a sudden situation where things happen, somebody had a stroke or something else happened, just know that you can still think about these things and process the things and figure out where you're going to go from here. If you're not able to provide the caregiving to any kind of extent or even part-time or full-time, like I said, these are things that you want to think about. Whether you're going to hire that caregiver or if that person has the income, they can hire that caregiver. If that person qualifies for the state Medicaid, they can, of course, pay for a caregiver. Or if that person needs to go into a care home, if it's too much, if they need care 24 hours a day and you're not able to provide that. The Medicaid to pay for that as well. Medicare will not. Just keep that in mind. None of these resources. Medicaid will, but there's only certain people who can qualify for that. It's not everyone. But like I said, that's definitely something that you have to think about if you're trying to figure out whether it's practical for you to become your loved one's caregiver. So with that, y'all, like I said, I'm going to get off of here. I just hope that this video helps somebody today. And hey, sis Abigail, thank you for tuning in today. And like I said, I'm going to go ahead and get off here, but I hope this video helps somebody who's either just starting off in the caregiving or thinking about whether they are able to become their parents or their loved one's caregiver given their situation. This is something that you have to think about if you're given the time to think. If you're not given the time to think, like I said, once you get settled, things get settled, the person's settled again, that kind of thing, start thinking about what your options are. And like I said, if you need to meet with me or talk to me about the options and help plan, I'm here to do that as well. Just reach out to me and let me know. But like I said, I see this all the time with the caregivers that I work with because that's all that I do for the past, almost 8 years now. I worked in home health, and of course, like I said, now I facilitate caregiver support groups and, of course, answer the calls from caregivers who are calling in dire needs. They need resources, information, that type of thing, and helping them plan as far as what they're going to do as well. That's what I do every day. And like I said, I know it's not easy, but there are resources to help. But like I said, every area and every state is different when it comes to resources as well, and money's available. So like I said, this is definitely something you have to think about. And I would definitely urge you to think about it, especially if this is something that's looking to be your future as far as caregiving for someone, because I know everybody has parents, or most people have parents that may become sick at some point. You're going to need to step in, or somebody's going to have to step in. whether it's you, whether it's a hired caregiver, or whether it's a care home that you're placing them in to step in. Somebody has to be there to assist. You just can't leave them to their own devices and things are going on inside the household, I'll put it that way. So like I said, definitely think about it. Think about your needs and how you can provide care for these people. And like I said, definitely, like I said, if you need my help, just reach out to me and let me know. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get off here. This is Tanetta, your social worker coach. Have a good day, y'all. And like I said, please feel free to share this video with someone that you know that may be a caregiver already or that's going into caregiving. I guess I put it that way. So like I said, y'all have a good one. I'll see y'all in the next video.